Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison, and I want to welcome you to Humanity Rising on this 14th day of January. I come with a background from the Starship Enterprise because as we start 2022, I thought it'd be good to just remind ourselves in the midst of all the crises and challenges in which we find ourselves that humanity is on a great journey. A journey of self-discovery, a journey of the world around us, and a journey that our generation, depending on the decisions we collectively make, will either proceed abundantly or deepen the challenges and the crises that we face. But let us, as we start 2022, reflect on our deepest destiny as part of a universe without boundary and yet so intricate that every infinitesimally small part of infinity reflects everything everywhere in an interconnected way that means that we have access not only to all that is, but we have access to know all that is out of a spirit of compassion and abundance that can empower us, whatever our challenges, to seek a deeper frontier. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to explore how we show up authentic, no matter what's happening, no matter how we feel, no matter what we think our possibilities are not. We have a deep imperative. Whoever we are, wherever we are, whatever we're doing, to be truly authentic. That's our theme for today, which we thought would be a suitable one as we embark on the year 2022. Before we get into the program, let us pause as we always do and just enter our bodies and know that we've got about 100 trillion cells. And each one of those cells has about 100 trillion atoms. And each one of those atoms, too small to see by the naked eye, has trillions and trillions of infinitesimally small little pieces, plonks. And each one of these plonks is connected to everything. And let us attune to our hearts. Let us, for just a minute, listen to our heartbeat, knowing that it's the pulse of life. And if we track our heartbeats, we start to track the electromagnetic pulse of our planet. The whole universe breathes together, beats together as one. Thank you, everyone. It's always good to feel our hearts beating as one as we contemplate how we become more authentic in the world. There's only one person I can think of that could really lead that discussion, and that's our Krueger, who's been with Humanity Rising from the very beginning. You know him. He's convened a number of panels, and he's an individual who has dedicated himself through the world of education to leading people to becoming more authentic by activating their highest potential as human beings. So, Kurt, I want to welcome you to Humanity Rising today in the spirit of the Starship Enterprise, and turn the program over to you with deep appreciation and gratitude, Kurt, for the bigness of your heart and the depth of your commitment to human potential. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I look forward to living up to what you're talking about. I wish to be able to welcome everybody right now here where we are with great respect and love. This is the guiding light for the Peace Lab. The Peace Lab's motto is peace in everything, everything with peace. And peace comes from love. And we love Humanity Rising because Humanity Rising has offered us ways to produce more and more peace and harmony. What a gift, and it's free. Just like we're going to be giving gifts of what the Peace Lab has come up with to be able to offer you simple and sometimes more complex ways to create peace. There's on other networks a whole list of all kinds of ways that we can do that. You can add to it possibly, but the big thing is to be that. Like Gandhi said, be the peace you wish to see. Be the change you wish to see. And in participating in today, this is not a sit down and listen day. This is a sit down. You get to listen, of course, but we get to participate, act as if we are one and you're participating. That's how the peace comes more and more as we see God in each other or see ourselves in another. The Peace Lab has grown from Humanity Rising. It grew up from an after chat that Stan Pokeris has created, and people who watch the Humanity Rising get to then say after on a different channel, so to speak, but you'll see it in the chat, and get to participate with oftentimes the panelists. And that is going to be a great experience because we get to then find out more and more how to be more authentic. And when we are authentic, we communicate without acculturation. This is one of the most important things for us to do. The Peace Lab has some of that idea there, just like character development. Without good quality character, how can we thrive? We'll fear this person or that. And the Peace Lab starts making it so there's no need for any departments of defense. It'll take a little bit of time. But when more and more people participate in the Peace Lab and in their own place and spread it where they are, what happens? Wow. We can breathe easier and we breathe fresh air. Why? Because we've created peace in our environment and with our environment, and we've created peace with the economy and so on and so forth. Fresh water, imagine. Wow. You know, when you're 94,000 years old, like I am, we used to breathe fresh air pristine, it almost smelled. And you felt so good because not only the good, pure water, spring water and so on, everything, it was so nice. Here we are. We are the creators of the reality that we're experiencing now and forever. When we have an issue ourselves, you can find how to be able to deal with something that triggers you. And there's a trigger word, but we don't need to use those other kinds of triggers or any kind of trigger. We can learn to communicate positively and inclusively. And this is allowing us to come together in harmony. There's a great book by the Prince of Wales. It's about harmony. It's called Harmony. Magical. That's what we're creating with the Peace Lab. So I'd love to hand over the whole shtick that we're giving you today to a wonderful woman that I got to meet and spend a lot of time with. Her background is incredible. I wish I had her background sometimes. She was, at the age of 12, she did Silva method. Imagine that, starting your young adult life off almost. Because that pubescent period, my goodness, with the Silva method. And she's been so intuitive all her life that she got to connect up with Barbara Marx Hubbard. And she's a certified conscious business change agent from the humanities team, first cohort, and so much more. I'm not going to say any more about her because her energy, her love will be felt by all of us as we go through this wonderful experiential day. So make sure that you're ready to stand up and move and stop that crazy thinking of preconditioning that we've had from our education system and so on, and dive deep. Carolyn Baumgardner, thank you for taking over now.
Thank you, Kurt. So many things going through my mind that what I like to say is it's really cool how this journey has unfolded with me and Kurt, how this subject came up, Daniel, and then inviting people, literally just talking through the concept of authentic and who would join us. And those who joined us, we've already been on the playground playing together. I noticed something that Diane Skidmore put in the chat while Kurt was talking, and it fits right in with what I was going to say to invite us into this space. Thanksgiving. Because what I noticed in our preparation for this over the last few weeks is the word authentic seems to be a quagmire for a lot of people. It seems to be something that could be tripping us up on our limited interpretation of it. Sometimes we may ascribe that it just means saying what we're thinking, being honest or forthcoming. And I invite us to lean into that deeper with our kaleidoscope eyes, going back to what we said before in our last session, to allow the full spectrum of what it could possibly be for us to show up in this curiosity, join us on the playground of discovery. And what could authenticity mean? How can we grow in it? And ask ourselves, in fact, let's close our eyes and just listen to this. In this moment, what influence am I under? Am I under the influence of my inner being? Do I feel love radiating in my thoughts? We invite you to consciously connect with your essential nature. In this time with us today, notice any external accumulation of matter enmeshed in your thoughts, which is serving as a minimizing filter between your essence and your awareness. Ask yourself, how do I feel? Just notice. Do you feel lighthearted and frisky and fun-loving? Do you have a radiating awareness of eager anticipation of what we're going to do on the playground? When we're present in the moment, we align with our inner being, our essential nature that will naturally occur, guiding us. When we focus on an issue, we bring that forward so that it's in focus and it feels like a disconnect, a gap, a hole, a struggle. We're going to invite you today to look at that, welcome it, have a cup of tea with it, and see how we can be with it, be present with it, sit with it, so that it can expand into more. As we focus on our attraction, we notice where the mind goes, the energy flows. Our inner being invites and welcomes the highest expression of all. So now we invite you to be under the influence of your essence as you are open, receptive, and responsive to our journey in authenticity. The better you feel, the more you invite, the closer you're willing to get to the details and welcome all of them lovingly. So I say, feel good first, so you can experience more feeling good. And Kurt is going to guide us in starting that process. We have 3 really special people with us today to join us on the playground. Thanks, Kurt, for the opportunity to get us started.
Thank you. And this way to be able to start off anything, any board meeting, any conversation, is to be able to be centered with people, be here in this space. And there's something called Pachamama Alliance, and they have a tradition to be able to open sacred space in their programs, just like Jim does with Humanity Rising, with this little meditation that we got to experience. What a beautiful, calm centering. And the calmness brings the peace. So we're going to practice something called the Peacemaker Meditation, because we're making peace inside and we're sharing, we're giving peace outside, peace in everything. Now, I'm moving my body in a way that I'd love you to do at the same time. You may be sitting in a big chair like I am, or whatever. If you are in bed, you may not be able to rock, but you can move your hands. If you can only move your hands, you can go peace inside, peace in everything, everything with peace. Peace in everything, everything with peace. Peace in everything. We rock back and forth because it creates a muscle memory. The muscle memory is important, but as we repeat peace in everything, everything with peace, it gets to be something called predominant mental impression. It's a law of sort of psychology. The more we think about something, it's better feeling. We can draw it to us. We can draw that peace inside, everything with peace. Peace in everything, everything with peace. When we do this, it's calming the breath down, and it's calming the heart rate down, where your fingers touch your heart. Let your heart touch your fingers, because it does. Everything is interconnected. And we flow with the breath. As the heart rate calms down, the brain waves follow. So the brain waves are giving us peace of mind, not so many thoughts. And the one thought we choose is peace in everything, everything with peace. It's our mantra. Or, as they say in psychology, it's a Q word. Peace in everything, everything with peace. And all of a sudden, when you're not so peaceful, you'll suddenly think, ooh, I'm not so peaceful. How can I give peace? Or how can I create peace? It'll just somehow flash into your mind. Why? It's the law of predominant mental impression. Everything with peace, peace in everything. I will put into the chat a 15-minute video that you can look at and feel free to practice with it and be able to see how it works. And it can be done with any language. Doesn't matter. It could be Urdu, or it could be Chinese, or it could be Spanish, whatever your home language is, we get to have this piece. So thank you for this opportunity to bring us into that sacred space. Now, I get to be able to offer you a person who is going to be able to talk about her experiences living in a country that has got the highest capital in the country, in the world. It is a country that is landlocked. And this woman, born and raised in a nice little town, got to be 16 years of international banking experience at the Inter-America Development Bank and the World Bank in Washington, D.C. This woman has also run for 32 years successful international businesses. She's here in America right now, but she's been all over the world sharing so much love and exploration of life and creating life in a way that we have not known it before. Getting people together to be able to be like in co-ops. Imagine cooperatives. Cooperatives work together to make everybody flourish, to make all the people in the cooperative make it work better. Much different than a corporation. And corporations usually have no laws, sadly. They are running pretty much everything. But Anna's going to discuss how her authenticity in each of these different fields allowed her to be able to have a thriving business, or having the World Bank function better for the world instead of just for certain areas. Anna, she has right now, she's so strong. She has COVID right now. She just got it and she's in her boudoir. She is not going to be on screen all the time, but she will share when it's time with everybody, her wisdom and way to be able to flow with others. Anita, please, it's yours.
Thank you so much, Kurt. And thank you for having me in this session. I am going to have to ask patience from all of you, because there are times in which this COVID thing just brings me a lot of cough unexpectedly, and I just have to stop and not talk anymore, but I will do my best. But thank you very much. Indeed, I come from Bolivia, and I was there until I was 9 years old, and in a country that, you know, it's a very strong social strata type of country. You were taught that, you know, your social standing is what matters, and your name is what matters. It's not so much who you are as a human being, as a person, but it's what you stand for in society. And ever since I was a little kid, I had a really hard time with that. Really hard time with it, and I think I was a revolutionary since I was a little girl. And coming to America, you know, at almost 10 years old, gave me that amazing experience of learning that there's a heck of a lot more beyond, you know, your social standing or your professional standing, you know, and I went in an amazing journey. Yes, working for the World Bank, the Inter-American Development Bank, the corporate structure. I learned the corporate ways, and that too was not music to my ears. It was in making my heart sing. But throughout it all, I kept asking, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. And I think asking that question is what began the universe to show itself and open doors for me to go into this journey of inquisitiveness about myself and who I am in the midst of, this amazing world, and our connectedness to people and to everybody and every living organism in this planet. And that led me to grow so much as a person, as a also professional. But the growth was not so much of a title or a position. It was truly about you and loving yourself and learning to accept yourself for who you are. And throughout my journey, I've had different mentors that came into my life. And again, it was, this question that I have kept on asking, and to this day, there's got to be more. What is the lesson here that I'm here to learn? The answers come forth. And this mentor of mine taught me a word that really changed. I wouldn't say changed, but it transformed the way that I thought about business, people, and just myself. And it's a word that is from India. It's Genshai. And Genshai leadership is what this gentleman taught me. His name is Dave Blanchard from the Augmandino group. And he taught me that if we are to create some process of transformation in this world, it begins with oneself first. And Genshai means never treat another person in a manner that would make them feel small, including yourself. And boy, did that really create an impact on me, because I realized that for years and years, the first person that I was making myself small was me, because I was always in the framework in the past of what I was taught in the past to get the next level position, the higher up, the importance of the social structure and what have you. And I felt never enough. And I realized when that word was taught to me that I needed to work on myself. And that's when it all began. We have a gift. Boy, do we have a gift. Each of us are amazing, amazing human beings. And we each have an enormous contribution to this planet just by our mere presence. We have a gift of just being, and being love, first and foremost, loving ourselves, loving myself in that case, understanding that I am beautiful, I'm kind, I'm generous. And yes, there are times in which I am fierce, absolutely fierce, when I am called to defend a value, a principle that I truly believe, and it is okay. It is okay, even if other people may not understand me. It is okay. That for me brought me into this Genshai leadership, becoming a Genshai warrior that I call myself, and being as authentic as I can with myself first and foremost. And by being authentic in everything that I do, be this business of my personal life, then by being that example, that light, I will attract people that will come to that space of exploration and learning that they too are so beautiful, and they too our gifts, in this planet. So the journey has been quite incredible in terms of business. As I grew in this country and had a platform to share this kind of Genshai leadership, I was able to attract so many people to form parts of groups. And as Kurt says, co-ops, and I call them tribes, that we could explore together. And I was blessed to be able to do this in different countries. Does everybody participate in it? No, they don't. But those that do are the ones that are ready to do so. And it is okay for other people that are not ready. It's part of their path still. And everyone has their own path. Everybody has their own journey. But most importantly, what the people whose lives I've been able to touch is that by them becoming examples of, loving themselves, accepting themselves, looking at themselves in the mirror and say, it's okay for me to be who I am, and I am in consistent growth. I am love first and foremost, and I will show love and respect. Will never, make myself feel small, nor will I let other people feel small. Those seeds that have been planted are affecting amazing transformation in different parts of the world. And it is a blessing. It truly is a blessing to do so. Do I fall through the cracks from time to time? Yeah, I do. And I'm human, and I accept myself for falling through the cracks, but I will not allow myself to feel small also for, falling through the cracks. Genshai leadership, to me, is something also that slowly but surely is being taught in normal and traditional corporate world. And I've been blessed to participate with a few people that have called on me to just go and share, my life journey and my business journey. And I believe that's creating people to be inspired that there's more, and that they are beautiful and loving and accept themselves for who they are. So that's in a nutshell, what I wanted to share with you guys. I'm sorry that I can't talk much more, but I can feel the cough coming, and I don't want to make you listen to all my coughing. So I'm going to shut the mic off for a bit, okay?
Thank you, Anita. I so appreciate your time with us. And I know you're going to be on later in the communication time, this interactive, this laboratory learning that we have set up for today. I get to be able to now introduce you to a man who's explored life like hard to be able to imagine that all the things that he's done. But of course, he's almost younger than I am. Tuck Taylor is a man who's toured the world. He started off in the 40s being exposed to laboratory learning. And he's traveled the world. He's been in military service with the Coast Guard. He's been a commercial fisherman. He's graduated from Cal in the 60s, and you know what that was like. And then teaching in a rural town in California. And so he's had this experience, but he's also gone, and his degree from UCLA School of Management is in behavioral sciences. And so he's been working with American Management Association and International Organization Development Consultant and Northrop Grumman. He jokes about being a person who worked at a company that made bombs, and then he got into Pachamama Alliance and has been presenting about how to be able to bring peace to the planet. And he's just a gift, even working with the Waldorf Institute of Southern California and so on. So I would love to be able to have Mr. Tuck Taylor, Dr. Tuck Taylor, to come aboard and put your vision and sound on and discuss that being who you are and expressing who you are and exploring who you are has allowed you to be able to achieve all the things that you've been able to do. So others might be seeing how this is done. Mr. Taylor, I know that you have a nice telephone that he has to work from today. And so he may have a little bit of difficulty with touching those crazy buttons. But he's a person who perseveres and continues to find ways to achieve things because he's been doing that.
He's not responding, Kurt. I've prompted him several times.
Okay. Well, we can possibly bring him on later. And Carolyn, would you like to be able to introduce
Savak? Sure,
Yeah.
maybe you could check on Tuck.
Thank you.
I have enjoyed getting to know Savak just recently. He is an architect by trade. But at each time that I talk with him, hey Kurt, Tuck's mic's open now. Do you want to? There we go. Okay, we'll pause and let Tuck come on since we've already done that.
Excellent, Tucker.
Okay, well, I was 1,000 miles away listening to all of you guys and trying to imagine how to make a contribution in the direction we're going. I think the laboratory learning would be the thread that I'd pick up, and that has been a deep experience in my life because I traveled from Los Angeles to Maine, in Bethel, Maine, 3 or 4 times as a child, and there was exposed to what was called at the time the greatest social invention of the 20th century. That is the T group or sensitivity training. And I tried to wrap that into the idea of authenticity, and was inspired by a W.H. Auden quote: "We are lived by powers we pretend to understand." And that marks a dilemma in my life, because after practicing behavioral science, consultation, running laboratory learning groups, I wound up where Anna is talking about, that there's something more. There's something more that was not comprehended within the behavioral paradigm. So I was drawn to ideas like when you're in a small group and you're trying to be authentic, speak when you're moved to speak, and when you're not moved, don't speak. Here are my notes. I watch my mind choosing what to say when I'm attempting to be authentic. And the idea that crystallized after a while of watching my mind and deciding when am I going to speak, when am I going to stay silent, it occurred to me it's like playing with a child's game, where each child has a stack of cards and they turn the cards over at the same time and see which card was the larger card. And each time you turn over an idea, when you're in a situation with another person, you have the idea, you have the choice whether you're going to show that card or you're going to bury that card in the deck. And as you're doing that, you're really camouflaging your authenticity. You say, this card cannot be played at this time. Now, that decision requires discernment. And this is where the gun-shy idea comes in. You don't want to make anybody small. At the same time, you want to be authentic. So how do you use your discernment to create an authenticity that is more than just a mechanical repeating of what might be suggested to you from your train of thought? And another way to think about this is developing your consciousness and understanding that there are ways of training this discernment and consciousness. And that's what you can get in laboratory learning, where you first have the experience, and then secondarily, you come to an understanding. But paradoxically, that understanding you come to is the one I referred to, where we are lived by powers we pretend to understand. So there are things happening that represent that more that Anna was talking about, or a distinction we can make that there is dashboard knowledge, and that's as close as we get, perhaps, to the knowledge of the engine. The engine itself, we never fully understand, but we can take measurements off that and infer our learning from that. Now, one environment for laboratory learning is the small group. And what we learned to do at National Training Laboratory was to create room for everybody in the group to exercise their leadership. And that was by having somebody in the group who was the formal leader, but the formal leader would leave a vacuum for others to be drawn into. And then, and perhaps we're going to be practicing this a little later on in this program. So part of leadership within that small group environment is something called negative capability, something that John Keats talked about in Letters with his brother, that negative capability is having the power to do nothing. It relates to the Quaker maxim: if you're not moved, don't speak. Speak when you're moved to speak. If you're not moved, don't speak. And that allows others to move forward. Another way of thinking of negative capability is, as in Britain, when the Blitz was on, and people who were unable to go into the battle had to just watch what was happening. And the phrase was, "They also serve who only stand and wait." And in a small group of experiential learning, that is also the opportunity to listen to yourself and listen to others. One consistent outcome What? I'm over? Oh, I guess I'm getting words that I should wrap it up. Anyway, one consistent outcome from the from this kind of learning is an experience of joy. And Savik was expressing that in our warm-up meetings. So at this point, I guess I'll close off. Is that what you want? Okay.
Very good. It's Carolyn's time to be able to introduce people now, and we're moving right along. Thank you.
Okay.
Chuck, we look forward to you coming back with us when we do our dialogue. So hold those thoughts, and whatever you didn't get to say, we can fold into when we do our dialogue. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So Savak is someone who I have had the pleasure to get to know these last couple of weeks, actually. He's an architect by trade. He grew up in Iran, has a very colorful life, so much to tell. He was an activist. He was in prison for standing up for what he believed in. He went back to the Soviet Union and was a part of the collapse and was inspired to travel. And through the traveling, it really came to his awareness of what was needed in the world. And what really struck me the most about getting to know him, two things, was all of the things that could be seen as controversial or knocking someone down. Savak said, how can I show up here? How can I be an authentic expression of me and make a difference? What gift do I have to give to this? And he started with interior design. The really cool thing was when we were talking about this, he started interior design, which to me is representative of starting within, doing the interior. And then he realized, I want to go big. I want to do global. And he designs theme parks and museums and resorts. And when we were talking, and smart communities. So when we were talking about theme parks and recreation and how to get people to engage even when they're having fun. And when he said something about parking cars and smart communities, I said, yeah, but that's more than just emissions and environmental. It's really about getting people to engage with their community, their environment. So that's what strikes me is it's really important to him. His passion is to spark people to look at their internal and external environment. And the really cool thing is this journey for Savak has raised his awareness about his authenticity and how it's woven into his journey and how he can inspire more people in more ways through his projects, through his architecture work and other things to resonate with the internal as we design our external, our interactive environments. So Savak, please share with us some of the ways that that's been meaningful to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Alan, thank you very much. Kurt, thank you very much for allowing all of this to take place, to happen. This is a truly amazing opportunity for people to come along and share their not only life story, but ideas how to help make the world a better place. That's exactly what we always need, and not yesterday, today, tomorrow. It's always. This is something that needs to be happen always. So, Helen, appreciate it, and as you mentioned, my authentic life started in Iran, and I grew up there, and I have to start with something very connective here. In Persian, the word God is called Khoda. Khoda means come to yourself. Just literally, it's a literal translation of the name. So that has had a profound, growing up there, learning from Rumi and the philosophies of the world, and the Kant and the Marx and the spiritual side. And so, but also you open your eyes, you see there is oppression. They don't, there is forces, it's that image we always have seen from the 60s, the monkey with the closed eyes and the ears and the mouth. And we don't want to be that. So I'm absolutely then, just like now, we don't want the world to go the other way, the planet to go the other way. We want to keep the planet, and what Jim said in the beginning, continue the journey. So it's a responsibility. So the same way in Iran, I was there, I grew up there, and seeing everything that was happening, how to act, and have we gotten results? No, but will there be results? Yes. At one time, I had to, at one point, I had to leave the country. I could not stay there because the life was under danger. I went to Armenia at the time, and up there, it was when Armenia was under Soviet Union. My heritage being Armenian, decided to do that. And rather than going, other places, go back to Armenia. And same thing, appearing there is oppression, there is movement, there is the same situation or similar situation, different circumstances. Have we gotten results there? Yes. Have we gotten final results? No. And that's what I learned when I came to the United States in 1991. In fact, it was in 1992 when the riots happened in Los Angeles. And continuing on today, and as we see around the world, that we need to act. We cannot sit. We cannot just and sit and do nothing. This is us. This is all our connected, collective human community, and nothing is perfect. Now, is there a perfect solution? Is there one solution? No, there is not one solution. There is never going to be one solution. And that's what we learn. One solution creates one direction, and one direction cannot be authentic. An authentic solution is millions of solutions and many solutions. It's allowing everyone to express themselves, allowing the collective ones that then becomes the culture to be expressed, to be seen. So all of this, naturally, with my profession, what I have been doing, brought me to trying to find ways. How can now I participate? How can, now, what is it that can be done in the level of a much more global? And another element that I totally learned during all this process or laboratory of life was that fairness and awareness, they are correlated. There cannot be fairness without awareness. So that self-awareness, all this conversation, all this effort, all of this is, that is the way to get to the fairness. Because just as there was the conversations, here, even being fair to yourself cannot come without awareness. But so there is also that correlation connects to our living environment. Even now, we know more and more how important it is how we approach our living environment. In fact, if you look at the overall, this laboratory of life, there is the DNA of the laboratory of life is self-awareness and living environment. And how do we connect that, and how they empower each other, and how that empowering creates more experience. That is the essence of what I have learned, I could share, I truly appreciate, and ready to engage.
Thank you, Savak. That's really eloquent. I appreciate that the living environment. I saved that for you, but that was one of the things that I wrote down that you said was, what environment do we create for ourselves? How kind and loving are we to ourselves? And again, going back, what does authentic mean? You have in so many ways showed up no matter what opportunity was presented to you, no matter what, you did see it, not as a problem, but as something to engage with. So thank you. I look forward. And just real quick, somebody in the chat asked you to post, how do you say God in Persian? So if you feel inclined, if you could put that in the chat, that would be great.
Yes, I shall do that. Thank you.
We're going to engage in an open dialogue in just a minute. So what I would like for each of us to do, again, Savak was a great lead into this, because the journey of what is authenticity, moving from just an expression of what I think, meaning let me tell you how I really feel because I'm being authentic. How do I be more inclusive of all of me, of my essential nature, of getting past things that I've picked up along the way? How do I include the you and the all in that expression? How do I authentically listen to what's resonating within me? And how do I offer myself the invitation to engage in more? Thank you, Savak and Anna and Tuck, for sharing with us. And we really look forward to engaging in open dialogue. And remember, everything that Kurt and I do with Humanity Rising, we want the audience, we want the people on the call to know that this is immersive and inclusive and experiential. And we want you to be thinking about, what does this mean for you? Where do you feel it in your body right now? This concept of leaning into, what do I make things mean? How am I showing up as authentic? How can I challenge myself to expand that definition and see more colors of authenticity, see more spectrums of authenticity? So Kurt is going to guide us in an experiential, physical, participatory. Please join us to engage the brain. Kurt, would you please help us activate our learning centers? So everybody, including participants, because you're going to engage in the conversation. If you can't stand up, at least do the actions. Take it away, Kurt.
Okay, real quickly. We do this because we're not just the mental and the heart and all that. We're also this body, and it's a holder for all kinds of emotions and so on. And we get to do what's called the rock climber. So it's like you reach up high with your right hand and you bring your left knee up high. And then you go like this and do the opposite. And it's like you're climbing a rock. And you do this really nicely and slowly and in balance. If you need to, like I do, you have a chair to be able to make sure that you're not going to fall over, because when you're 94,000 years old, you don't have such good balance and you want to protect yourself, and you get to oxygenate your system, balance your neocortex, open all your learning centers. And this little 15-second kind of an experience that we do, guess what? Oxygenated your brain as well as the rest of your body. And we can actually feel better when we do this. and we get to rock and roll now. I'd love all of our panelists to come aboard and open up your mics and open up your visuals. We're going to be able to dance this dance. Are you ready? Let's rock and roll. Show us.
Before we get started, I want, so we can include the audience, I really want to say some things that kept coming to me. And I would like for us to unfold these in the conversation too. When we really listen to all that was said today, and where we notice where that's taking us, each of us. Notice the thoughts that arise in our awareness. Do we see any patterns revealing themselves as we lean into this authentic expression? What opportunities are present to expand in authenticity? In this moment, how can we go beyond our initial impressions of what we think we heard, what we think we experienced, how it landed with us? So I pose to the audience and the panelists, through listening to the shares today, how have you been impacted to show up in authentic ways you hadn't considered prior? How has your perception of how to engage authentically been enriched? How can you encourage yourself to notice more opportunities? And how can we dance with one another in this space now? Anna, hopefully you're feeling okay that you can at least unmute your mic if you don't feel comfortable coming on video. We absolutely understand. And Savak, can you join us now?
Here.
Awesome.
And we get to have Daniel Reeders. He's a shaman. He's a member of this whole production team. He's not just a shaman who trained in Latin America with these mamos and others that are really out there, so to speak, as well as he's a cardiologist. He's board certified in all kinds of things, and he trains cardiologists and people in bringing shamanism into life. So he's also obviously going to be participating. I'd also like to ask Jim if he wants to come aboard and play this dance. I know it's early. If you'd like to, you can, or you can wait 15 minutes or so to have everybody be able to experience this team we've put together, play with each other, and expose how this actually works. Thank you so much.
Is there anything that's come up with anybody? Is there anything bubbling up that somebody would like to put into the proposition to expand? Savak?
I think there's like we're talking about this experiential learning, right, which is happening right as we speak, and the space now we are on, in fact, is virtual, right? But this takes me into what I've been kind of working on is that what I call it experiential learning spaces, where you can how that can be from everything from the school to museum to the community to where we live every day, and how do we interact, where again taking us back to that awareness.
Well, that really raises the issue of Zoom and trying to accomplish experiential spaces over the internet. And isn't that a challenge?
Yeah, to me, it makes it even more essential to show up open-minded, receptive, responsive, and the show me curiosity of the authenticity being, how do we do this now? Kind of like Savak's journey, or Tuck when you were in corporate and people were a little resistant when the light was shown on them. It's our invitation to say, How about now? How do we do it now? How do we do it here? How do we lean into this? How do we expand our perception of how to do this humaning thing of gathering together? Jim, anything bubbling up for you?
Well, I think Savak is right. These experiential learning happens every time a human being meets another human being, meets a forest, meets a flower. I mean, we're interactive by design. And so my experience, having convened nearly 400 Humanity Rising sessions, is that if people can't meet in person, they're going to meet on Zoom or they're going to meet on email. And the challenge is to know how to be intimate given the context, because context shapes content. So you can be experientially present in person in a different way than you can be experientially present, say, on Zoom. But the human desire for intimacy and interactivity is so deep, and our resilience and adaptivity is so dimensionalized. I find that it's just another form being on Zoom, and yet at the same time, it makes me yearn to be in person again. And it's probably going to be an amazing experience for people after a couple years of COVID and being separate. When the dam breaks, as it were, and we can come back together, we'll probably at a minimum appreciate it for the first time.
I think that's a great point. It's enriched because we did take things for granted, the in person. So now we've really had the challenge of get in touch with our essential nature, get in touch with our feelings, get in touch with what's meaningful, and notice when something's absent. How do we bridge? How do we come from wholeness? How do we get intimate with ourselves and what we're experiencing and convey that when we don't have the luxury of physicality? How do we truly show up in and as the more?
But also, this gave us the opportunity to think about what, how much we are missing that even before, how much the living environment didn't allow us, because currently the way we live is either forced by governments or developers. We don't have much say. There is no authenticity. This is not like 500 years ago, the cities, how they got built, very authentical in a very individual way. So why we take this opportunity, think about 100 years from now, maybe we actually 100 years from now, at least we will have communities that we're not interacting cars, we are more connected, we are walking in the gardens, we are literally living in the gardens, not both in our individual living space and also in our communal space, which allows us to express what we do from our arts and the culture and the food and the interactivity at least 100 years from now. Dream.
But we start today. What can we do today? How can we show up today?
Absolutely.
How
Absolutely.
have we shown up today? Yeah. Anna,
Yes.
Do you have an opportunity? I know it's hard when you're not on camera. We can't see if you're wanting to say something.
I know. So sorry, but
No problem.
we'll do the best here. Okay. Well, I'll tell you, in my line of work, being together in groups is so incredibly important, and the live presence has always been a part of it. So it definitely has impacted us. But I agree with Jim and with Svak here that when the time comes that we will be together again, and slowly but surely this is beginning to happen. There's also this fear that is being overcome slowly but surely, today, and allowing people to want to be with one another and to share with one another. And I think we just have to lean into that and allow that space. I know that for me here in Falls Church, Virginia right now, there are people that have shown up. You know, again, when you throw this in the universe and you say, well, what is there a lesson here to be learned from all of this, and bring forth the people that I am meant to touch, magic begins to happen. And they started just showing up. And one by one, you know, at least we get together at a private setting, if not in a large group setting, one-on-one. And that helps. I think that's the beginning of today, what we can do today.
From my point of view about experiential learning, maybe it's a specialized approach that I've become so wedded to, but the hallmark is here and now interaction as opposed to there and then discussion. And we're currently very much in a there and then frame of reference with each other. And I think that's understandable in that we have limited time and we had to present ourselves to each other. But when I talk about the challenge of experiential learning on the internet, it's that particular quality that I'm looking for, that is, how can we become here and now with each other?
What does that mean to you, Tuck?
I beg your pardon?
What does that mean to you? How do you envision what being in the here and now means?
That I say to Savak, your sense of what is valuable in life and the way you present yourself here in a joyous energy has moved me, and I love to watch your smile.
Thank you.
Good illustration.
And that's been the case. We just a couple of times that we kind of talked together. How much we learn, how much I learn, and also sometimes it's like, oh, I've been thinking about this idea. Now it is said, it is put in a different way that gives a totally different light to the same idea. I so appreciate what I learned from Anna. Honestly, I myself went through a very hard time, last year, just questioning myself, like literally a lot. And but just that small description of don't make others feel small and don't make yourself feel small made me even more comfortable coming today and showing up.
It was such a beautiful experience working with all of you for the few weeks that we got to have this Zoom dialogue, not, getting to be able to hug and not being able to do all the things that we could do in person. But in the process of all this, getting to know each other, the authenticity opened up even more and more. And we got to see and feel and be with each other. Why? Again, like Jim had mentioned, we have that connection and we have that yearning for fullness of the connection, like the little microbiome in the gardens outside. They get that connection with their neighbors, and that's what we get to model after to connect with our neighbors, but especially, again, connecting with ourselves, knowing where we're coming from and where we have vision for. That's a little 2 cents.
Yeah, this has been a cool journey. And I'd like to acknowledge Diane. She is feeling very frisky today. She is really enjoying the chat. Thanks, Diane, for your contagious enthusiasm today, more so than usual. I'd also like to recognize how Anna has shown up in looking within, and Tuck and Savak, and this journey that each of us has been on was not about telling about procedures or policies or learning. It's been a reflection, an introspection, and a gathering together and a sharing, and then an offering from that space. And it's really been a gift it's been really cool to watch each of you bloom in this very short period of time. And the weaving of us joining together as a network in this short period of time shows how we can do it each day.
Well, in the experiential learning model, now is the time when we can also conceptualize those learnings with each other. For example, I can point out that the energy moved from here and now to there and then, first with Kurt and then with you, Carolyn. And how do we, and Savak addressed Anna, but in a kind of a third person, Savak, when you were giving feedback to her, it was kind of about her rather than to her. Or there's another example of how we can move to the here and now, having disclosed ourselves. We can now see each other in ways that we can learn from each other.
You know,
I hope
has.
Kurt and Carolyn, I hope you take my unsolicited feedback, because there are ground rules that we may want to think about if we're moving to a here and now framework. How have these landed? Are the things you can say to me about how I might be more effective?
Well, you just pointed out an extremely powerful thing about the here and now. One of the biggest teachings in metaphysics is the here now. And how can we do that?
But you just took it to there and then.
I did. Thank you. And see, we get to learn from this simple dialogue. And again, we're well-conditioned animals because of our...
You're going to there and then again.
Okay, so I have a here and now. Let's all breathe and feel and notice where our mind is. What thoughts are coming? Are they deliberate? How does it feel? How do we feel about what's been offered? So we served up some really yummy cookies, authentic spices, the Savak spice, the Tuck spice, the Anna spice, the Jim spice, the Daniel spice, the Rick spice, the Stan spice, even though he's hidden, the Kurt and the Carolyn. And we made a batch of cookies together. And we hope all of you listening are enjoying the vicarious cookies. You can smell them and you can see them bubbling up, and you can imagine what it would be like to taste them, because that's our intention for you, is to genuinely feel each of us offering connectivity and love. And I see you. And opportunities of all these different expressions. Savak designing a theme park, and all the different conversation that each of us have had on how to do this here and now, based on what has been. How do we pull it all in and gather together, not just on this Zoom call, not just today. And Jim does it every day with many people. And Kurt and I have talked about how do we bring those networks together and overlap, and how do we, in each of our lives, how do we show up with more intimacy with ourselves, as ourselves, and explore that authenticity so that we're sharing in wholeness as wholeness and can receive and transmit that frequency. So, Jim, in honor of time, what else would you like to bring into this space here and now?
Well, thank you, Carolyn and Kurt, for convening this panel. One little note that I think in terms of the here and now of Zoom communication that I think is worth us bringing in collectively is the comment made by Leslie Southwick that, normally when we're in person, we're not seeing ourselves, we're seeing just the other person. But on Zoom, part of the here and now experience is we're seeing ourselves in the screen while we're seeing other people. And I must say, it made me remember back to the first time I used Zoom. This was way before the pandemic because it's been around for a number of years. But I was a little embarrassed that my face was on the screen for the entire 45 minutes or 50 minutes, 60 minutes of the dialogue. And I know I can remember us talking about how uncomfortable we were at just seeing ourselves. And maybe, in the spirit of the Delphic Oracle, know thyself. Maybe that's been one of the small little contributions of both Zoom, but also COVID, since we haven't been able to meet, is we spend a lot of time just looking at ourselves. And, there's in the mystical traditions, there's one of the practices is you just sit in front of a mirror and just look at yourself. You just look at yourself. And some people have spent days just in front of the mirror, just looking at themselves. So I just wanted to bring that in to help dimensionalize it a bit. And I think the comment that I would make, sort of connecting, Tuck, your comment of there and then and here and now, I think that the challenge of us at this moment in relationship to what's swirling around us all the time and these multiple crises and challenges, as I said at the beginning, is we're really having to deepen our own internal as well as social dialogue about how we maintain our authenticity. And one of the comments that has been made, not just by me, but other people, that as we experienced COVID 2 years in, and the exhaustion and the fatigue that I think all of us at some level are experiencing, is the yearning for a reimagination of the human, a yearning of the rekindling of what our deepest potential is, now that we find ourselves in circumstances both not to our liking, but also out of our control. So this is why I was very impressed, Kurt, that you came up with this notion of deepening our awareness of the imperative for authenticity in this session today, because I think it may well be almost like a clarion call for 2022. How do we, in a world situation that is spinning out of control, and yet in which isolation, lockdown, distance, fear is now being inculcated into global culture? That's at the heart of COVID. How do we nevertheless reconnect with such a deep sense of authenticity in ourselves, in our beings, And then, as you said, Carolyn, I loved your image of the cookies. I started to actually smell a chocolate chip cookie. How do we collectively, not being able to touch or feel or anything, come up with a cookie? It's an amazing challenge that we've
how do we be the cookie too? How do we be the cookie?
And
There's something that you're touching on, Jim, indirectly, but I was looking at the chats, and there are two things that feel really important. First of all, Kurt, everybody wants to dance, so let's make sure we leave that as a meditation. We'll let Kurt take us out. But one thing that feels very important to pull into this space is the entire spectrum of I see you. Ada in the chat has given us the opportunity to feel into, to lean into those times where privacy and some of the things that you just nodded to, Jim, the things that don't feel like we want more of them. How do we honor that? How do we show up in that authenticity and have a cup of tea and sit there and just notice it and be with it and not need it to go away and not need to make it something other than what it is and not try to stick a smile on it, but not to get entangled with it either. What kind of cookies can we make with that? Maybe they're a little bitter. We need to add some extra spice to it, some extra sugar or something that, some sprinkles on that one, some M&Ms in there. But I'm joking, but I also want to acknowledge not just Ada, but who and what she represents, just like all of us here today, that the authenticity is a full spectrum engagement with our inner being, with our essential nature. One of the things that came up in our run-through session for today was many different metaphors of flavors of ice cream and being the tree, but also dancing with the forest and all these different analogies. And I want us to remember that it does include that it is about sitting to have tea with all of it that we're feeling. And Savak, you mentioned that, and Anna spoke to it. And just because we're going to dance at the end doesn't mean that we don't acknowledge all, that some are sitting on the perimeter of the dance floor. Some may not even feel comfortable coming into the dance room, but they can listen to the music. Some dance reluctantly. But please feel the invitation that we're extending to you, to all of us, to the me that I am and to the we that we are, when we gather together to at least take a bite of the cookie and focus on what we would like to amplify, what we would like to transmit, where the mind goes, the energy flows, and to truly allow ourselves the space to sit with what is so that it can know itself in its entirety, so that we can move into a deeper and fuller knowing of ourselves. Therefore, being able to see through the lens of more of others. I just wanted to really say thank you, Ada, for holding that space for us to remember that some people don't feel like dancing right this moment.
We're going to do something different.
Acknowledge that. What, Kurt?
Spontaneously, we're doing something different today. We're going to dance on our face.
Oh, this is going to be.
You
go first.
This thing about looking at the video, ourselves talking and doing these things. I looked, I said, holy cow, I got a whole bunch of wrinkles here and this is hanging there and all that kind of stuff. Why do we have these wrinkles? Because we never really exercise our face. We've exercised our body, and I've been a physical education teacher and sports psychology and all that stuff. But how often do we exercise our face? How often do we play with it? So right now we get a challenge. We get to make all kinds of different faces to be able to make it look and feel different and exercise different parts of our eyes and hair and head and forehead and all of that.
Kurt, look at Jim's face. He's like, okay, Kurt's falling off the rocker now. He ate too many cookies. He's in a sugar cup ice.
Well, I thought of changing it from chocolate chip cookies to peanut butter cookies, but I know Tuck likes chocolate chip cookies. He eats them all, And
Anna, can you turn your camera on where this is an invitation. So Ada, Anna's representing through dancing with COVID at the moment, Anna is representing what you're experiencing, Ada, a little flavor of that. So Anna is going to show COVID how you dance and say, I see you, and you are not going to take over. So go ahead, Kurt. How are we going to dance with our faces? You started, and let's all engage. Let's all have fun with this. Jim,
I demonstrated that.
needs to be all buttoned up. You got to participate. Come on, Daniel, you got to do more than smile.
Yes, yes.
Oh, Stan's getting on. Come on, Stan, show us how to do it.
And you can laugh, and because if you look at yourself doing all these crazy things, you can also laugh, and that's really good for you too. That's part of the happiness thing that we can teach. I had kids running off to pick up a leaf from different plants, just one, because you don't want to hurt the plant too much. And then they'd come back and they were running, but they were looking around this campus, and it was a junior high school, and they got exercise, but they were having fun. Holy
I like how Savak and Stan are standing up too. So Kurt suggested the face, but you guys just engage with your body. See how all this feels. See how you can move. How can you move? Okay, this is a good way to jostle up anything that is feeling restricted or anything that came up today too. How can see what
you jump? You jump up and down, and you're springing like this. And as you land, say, huh. This is the first thing I did at the keynote speech for the Sports Psychology Conference, World Congress of Sports Psychology in 1985 in Copenhagen. And I got all these sports psychologists, who many of them are former athletes, jumping up and down, going, huh, 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 in their shoulders, massaging their neck and shoulders. It's so much fun. Huh, huh, huh. And you get to go crazy. You get that shitty grin on your face, and we're having a good time. Yeah, look at that. Okay, now we have to close, and we'd like to close with one simple thing. This one simple thing. We get to live the rest of our life by having peace in everything with peace. We bring peace inside by meditating. We bring it outside into our life. Peace in everything with peace. I put it in the chat. If anybody wants to contact me, do it through successsystemsinternational.net. And I will send you the meditation. I will send you the Watusi jump. I will send you anything you ask for if I can. And I love you, and thank you for being here.
I'd like to thank Savak and Stan Savak, you totally stepped into something we haven't seen from you. Usually you're quiet and serious. And so you were really, if we had given you another 15 minutes, there's no telling what would have happened. So look at the invitation, everybody. Look at how we showed up. Look at the vast spectrum of possibility in each moment. And we just ask you to remember the kaleidoscope, and if you need to just click it to get a little bit different vantage point, to offer a little different perspective and allow some different colors to flow in, different opportunities. So Jim, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, everybody on the screen and off the screen, particularly Diane. Thank you for bringing it today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this journey of exploring and dancing with authenticity.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Kurt. I think we should have named this session Dancing in a Time of COVID. So
I didn't know Anna was going to offer that to us.
Yeah, and I want to thank you, Anna, for showing up today. You know, normally when people have something like COVID, they hide away and go under a rock somewhere, but you boldly stepped forth in the spirit of the SS enterprise. And I just want to acknowledge you and tell you we all love you and send strength and healing your way. And Sevak and Tuck, Dan, Carolyn, Kurt, thank you so much for such a lively and present session. This brought us all into the present in a powerful way. And I'm still smelling the chocolate chip cookies.
Or whatever kind of
we get together.
We'll give you chat. If you would mention
everyone's welcome to the after chat. Have a good weekend. And we'll see you all again on Monday for Rupert Reed. We're going to have a dialogue with Rupert Reed from Extinction Rebellion on the next phase, what comes next for the climate movement. That'll be Monday on the 17th. So thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you, everybody.
Wonderful
Enjoy your
session.
For now, thank
Wonderful
you.
session.